awesome, absolutely awesome.
I love it when a plan comes together. Definitely worth a look. Yeah, it was well on par. Hi everybody, good afternoon. So today is Thursday, the 9th of May 2013, and I'm here to review Star Trek Into Darkness. Now before I get into it, this is going to be a non-spoiler filled video, but I will be making a spoiler filled review, okay, after this one. So if you want to wait for that one instead of watching this one, by all means do, but as I say, if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, watch this video instead. Okay, cool. So Star Trek Into Darkness, J.J. Abrams' sequel to his I wouldn't necessarily say reboot to the franchise, because in all sense of purposes, when we saw the first Star Trek that J.J. did back in 2009, he has preserved the original universe. He has still preserved the original Gene Roddenberry series and movies that were created afterwards are still there. Okay, so that universe is still present. So, you know, if hardcore Trekkie fans are going to think JJ has ruined the franchise, well, he hasn't really. He's just created an alternate version of what Gene Roddenberry has done. So do not look at his reboots as such as, you know, he's completely disregard everything that has happened before. In some sense he has, but again, it's his own vision, his own way of telling his story of the Star Trek universe. So, you know, Kirk, Spock, Uhura, McCoy, and, you know, Scotty, Chekhov, Sulu, their destinies are still entwined, but this particular version, we don't know exactly where they're headed. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say on that one. So Into Darkness, we've got Benedict Cumberbatch as a villain who is, do you know what, I would love to see Benedict as a Bond villain one day. I really would love to see him as a Bond villain. He plays villainy so well, it is not even funny. Who knows, maybe he could be Lex Luthor one day. I'd like to see that as well. But no, in this film he plays a character called John Harrison, who is one of Starfleet's sort of like top agents. So he has worked for Starfleet in the past, but then he goes on some sort of vengeance-seeking havoc. He causes a massive disruption in London, attacks senior officials of Starfleet as well, and where it goes from there, you've got Jim Kirk, who finds out who he is and demands that he goes after him. You know, I mean, the Enterprise have just got back from saving an indigenous civilization from a volcano explosion. Unfortunately for them, they saw their starship when they shouldn't have. But yeah, it was very interesting to see that. We do get Klingon representatives in this movie, so there are Klingons in this film, but they look so different to what you might imagine. However, don't forget, because this is like the early years, obviously, of the Starship Enterprise and their crew, and her crew rather, how the Klingons look now, well, I'm sure as time goes on, when if we see any more sequels appearing, the changes might be different as well. So yes, as I say, Benedict Cumberbatch, John Harrison. So he gets captured by Kirk eventually, and it is revealed, you know, what he knows about Starfleet. There's a bit of a history between him and Admiral Marcus, who's played by Peter Weller. For those of you who are not familiar with him, he was a guy that was RoboCop back in the 80s. So between him and Admiral Marcus, there is a history between those two. Unfinished business as such. Alice Eve plays a doctor in there as well, but she specialises in advanced weaponry, and her role is quite important in some sense. Not too important, but it's integral to the story in particular. Uhura and Spock, there is tension between those two for a time, and it is actually quite funny to see how that all unfolds, and yeah, you when you see it, you'll see what I mean. Simon Pegg as well, back of Scotty. He actually is a bit more involved this time which is actually good. But as I say, the other thing I want to put attention to is that if you thought the first one had action, forget it. This one has got like 3, maybe 5 times the amount of action than what the first one had. It was just immense. It really was just brilliant. Visually stunning. The effects were fantastic. The explosions, everything that was done. The fight scene between Spock and Harrison in particular will definitely, you know, surprise a number of people. I do have one slight gripe, and there is. It's for me. It was quite a bit of a I would not. It was a plot hole as such. But I'm not going to say it in this video. I'll say it in my spoiler-filled video instead, because for me, I thought it was just like, it was sudden. It was just like snapping the fingers, and then you were like, okay, so what happened? You know, all that time has passed, but there's been no information as to what occurred and such things like that. So yeah, it was very interesting. But the main thought for this film was all about Kirk, and if you, as I say, if you've seen all the, you know, old Star Wars, God, thinking too far ahead, all the old Star Trek movies with Shatner and Nimoy and DeForest Kelley and everybody else, you know how Kirk was, even in his older years. He remembers how he was in his youth, how he was brash, he was always, didn't believe in no-win scenarios and all that sort of stuff. You know, he was always, he never wanted to lose. That was Kirk's philosophy. No matter what risks he took, whether it was at the risk of his own crew or himself, he was always going against regulations of Starfleet, and it shows again in this film. And you know, Chris Pine embodies Kirk in such a way, you know, a younger version of Kirk in such a way that I don't think a lot of people will fully understand, or hardcore Trekkie fans will think, oh my god, he's channeling too much of Shatner in some sense. But I think at the same time he's playing the role himself. He's bringing his character, his own personality into this role. And you know, while he's got all that brashness about Kirk, and you know how he's headstrong and foolish as well and ruthless, you know, he still shows compassion for his crew. He still feels responsible for his crew. You know, whatever dangers he put his crew in, he feels 100% responsible. And if it wasn't for Christopher Pike, who you know, Admiral Christopher Pike, played by Bruce Greenwood, it was Pike who wanted, you know, Kirk to join Starfleet, and Pike who even enforced into Kirk that whilst you're clumsy, or not that he's clumsy, but whilst you think that you know, you're arrogant, you're cocky, you only seem to think about yourself, I know that there's greatness in you, and I know that you can be better than what you think you are. And this film actually does show that. You know, this movie shows that character of Spock. It really, of Kirk. It really, you know, he shines through as such. But yeah, I think overall I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Unique twists, surprises galore. As I say, I'm not going to say anything in this video, but if you haven't seen it, please don't watch my spoiler-filled video that I'm going to do after this, because it seriously, I'm not joking. You really, oh my god. Anyway, Star Trek Into Darkness, people, go and see it. Before I go, I just want to show you something I picked up because I went to the midnight showing. And obviously the IMAX are no longer doing their IMAX midnight one sheet that they normally do, so instead they've come up with something new. Check out this poster. Doesn't that look amazing? I am going to get this bad boy framed. Seriously, I really am. I will get it framed. It is amazing. It really is. A nice cool looking banner right there. So there's the Enterprise. And I have to admit, the Enterprise, she is looking gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, she does take some bumps and bruises in the movie, but she still looks gorgeous. She is just beautiful. It's amazing the way how they've made her look now. So fantastic. But anyway, as I say, check it out. Let me know what you think of it. Thank you all for watching. See you all later. Bye.